everyone, and welcome to today's event. I'm Laura Dillon with MS Dynamics World, and we're here today for a session on how to avoid a finance nightmare and make AP automation for D365 your hero. Our presenters today are our good friends at Dooap, Anna Tuyunen, Chief Product Officer, Peter Lutz, Director of Partnership, and joining them is Bob Syverson, Senior Director at Confiz. And it's truly my pleasure to welcome them here with us today. Now, as we get started, please know that we do welcome your questions. You can feel free to type those in at any time during their presentation and demo in the chat box that you'll see in the GoToWebinar interface. And I know that someone from the Dooap team will be following up with you individually after the session. So Peter, without any further delay, I'm going to hand things off to you to get us started.
Great, thank you, Laura. Welcome everybody to our webinar. I'm Peter Lutz, the Director of Partnerships at Dooap. With me are Anna and Bob, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and their alter egos for today's webinar.
Thank you, Peter. Hi, my name is Anna, and I'll be today presenting Captain Finance. So I will be showing you a demo on how Dooap works and how AP automation works with Dynamics when it's integrated and fluent and smooth. And my background is in Dynamics consulting, in finance consulting, and accounts payable consulting. But the previous 7 years already, we have been developing the best AP solution that we think that there is for Microsoft Dynamics 365. Welcome.
And I'm Bob Syverson. I'm the Senior Director of Business Development at Confiz. I've been around the Dynamics marketplace since it began. I was actually one of the original partners of the original Dynamics product in the early 1990s, and I've been working with most of the different products over the years. And today I'll be Dave, the customer who's in distress these days. First of all, I'll give you a little background on Confiz. We are a global Dynamics implementer and Microsoft consultancy. We have about 500 overall Microsoft consultants, about 170 which are focused on Dynamics products, whether it be F&O or CE. We've got a bunch of different clients through small to medium to large industry enterprises in a variety of different industries, retail, CPG, manufacturing. Some of our largest customers are Fortune 100 customers. And we do cover the entire spectrum of Microsoft, from Dynamics to the Power Platform, to the cloud, to data analytics, and so on and so forth. We are actually a past Microsoft Partner of the Year. So we've been around, we're well recognized globally, and we're looking forward to working with Dooap going forward to present this fantastic AP automation tool.
And a little bit about Dooap. We are an AP automation Microsoft dedicated company. Our solution is built for D365 Finance and some AX 2012. We're Microsoft certified and based on Azure, of course. We have clients around the world and headquarters in Austin with a development team in Finland. By mastering D365 and procure to pay, we've created this automation tool that has a very solid user experience and service team. So we're very proud of that, and that's shown in our NPS scores there. We're very happy to have reached those levels and continue to get better. Our team is growing locally, and we have sort of 100% growth each year. So more and more clients are jumping on our platform and seeing enhanced AP performance in their company. And a little bit about our dog, Dooap. It's a border collie, which is a very intelligent dog species, and it's sort of a representation of our platform herding invoices as it would herd sheep. So you'll see Dooap, the dog, flying through the air in our demo here. So thank you everybody for joining, and we'll go ahead and get started now. Our agenda is to talk about AP automation and how it is changing and affecting the landscape of the industry. Again, we're dedicated to Microsoft, so we're fully in on that front. We'll talk about how a solution, or we'll talk about the issues that companies have with AP processing and how the solution can help. Our solution is very horizontal, so across all different industries, but we'll be talking about multi-location situations today. And then Anna will show a demo, a full-time demo of our product with as it pairs up and how it pairs up with D365 Finance. And then we'll just talk some more about how we can work on the solution for this particular presentation along the way. So Bob?
So now as Dave, our customer, I'm the head of finance at Products R Us, which is a unique provider of unique widgets. And we have 10 locations, multiple states. We also have a couple of Canadian provinces. So as you can imagine, we've got separate legal entities for both the US and Canada. We have products that are widely sold across all of our locations, but then we also have some that are unique and locally sourced to either one or a few of our locations. We have 3 distribution centers, but a lot of our products are received directly at the stores from the vendors. Products R Us has over 1,000 vendors, so 100,000 SKUs, so right in that prime area for Dynamics 365 F&O. And a bunch of our purchase orders have up to about 60 lines. So today, the issues that I'm having is the head of finance is that my AP team, over half of my team is spending time on things like missed payments, missed cash discounts, misplaced, lost invoices, as many of you probably can relate to. 3 times last year, vendors actually stopped shipments because of late payments due to unapproved or lost invoices. At least 15 times vendors threatened to do the same. And our finance team spent numerous hours having to research those issues and make it so that we could continue receiving shipments and taking care of our customers. We also had a bunch of invoices that were inaccurately coded and through the approval and payment process. We actually have 1 person out of the 10 that are focused on incomplete approval and missing invoice that AP actually knows about. And then there's countless, as you can imagine, invoices that our team doesn't even know about. It takes at least 2 days at the end of every month to build the receive net invoice report. And that just is a complete waste of our team's time when it should come right out of the system.
So, thanks, Dave. I'm assuming you have smaller vendors, and what are some of the unique issues or properties they have on their invoices that you see?
Yeah, as you can imagine, those smaller vendors, they want to work directly with those local local locations, and so they'll provide us with multiple POs for 1 invoice. They're always sending their invoices directly to the locations, not to our headquarters. The invoices cover multiple receipts. They just lack process, which is common with smaller vendors. And as most vendors do, they frequently short ship or back order products.
Got it. And so are you receiving different products on multiple POs in a single shipment? So you get a big bulk shipment at a certain store. How does that affect the processes you're dealing with?
So some of the receipts are for up to 5 different POs, which then, as you can imagine, that then converts into invoices for multiple POs and multiple receipts. And so it's a tremendous effort to try to match these up with our current processes.
Right, and I can imagine that gets even more complicated with each additional location. You've got 10 locations, so multiply those issues times 10, basically, I would imagine.
It is, and this situation is actually impeding our ability to increase the number of locations we have.
Oh.
So, and right now, the POs are for multiple locations. They might be for many releases of the same product. So, the buyers want to be able to use all the tools in Dynamics, but again, we're being hampered by our processes.
Next slide. So I know you said at the beginning that you have locations in Canada and the US. And I can't imagine, though, your vendors are only in the US. They're probably from a lot of different places, right?
Yeah, we like so many different multi-location organizations have vendors from the Far East. Some of those invoices come in foreign languages, foreign currencies. Many times we're required to provide prepayment or letters of credit. And then a lot of times, in fact, most of the times, our vendors send us invoices when they ship the product, even though we may physically not see it for 1 to 2 months, but we need to manage those shipments, shall we say, on the water.
Right. Gotcha. Well, Dooap is an international company. We've got clients all over the place. Sounds like you might need some AP automation.
Yep. And so we also have vendors where they actually include the invoices with the product shipments. And then it's hit or miss with the local locations of when or if they send those invoices to headquarters. You know, they take it out of the box, they put it on their desk, and you know, they don't see it until somebody yells about it, which may be weeks or months later. And so because of that, again, we had several times where vendors actually stopped shipments to all of our stores because one store forgot to send us some invoices. All of our invoices need to be approved by local managers, and then we have the issues of the invoices going back and forth, and you know, whatever tools that we use, it's just very time consuming and wasted motion to send those back and forth. And then, you know, so often, especially with these smaller vendors, they try to collect by resending invoices, and then if we don't exactly enter it in correctly, we end up paying the same invoice duplicate times. We've done that a few times now.
That sounds like it could be cumbersome. Well, here we have Captain Finance to the rescue. So Anna, looking forward to seeing what you have to offer here.
Perfect, thank you. I think I successfully stole the presentation from you. And well, thank you, Bob, also called us Dave, and Peter. I think you framed the problem well and described what multi-location companies face, but what just all companies typically struggle with. And with knowing how Dynamics works with multi-company scenarios, the amount of manual work related to just hopping between tables or legal entities, it can be definitely painful. But let's now summarize the problems with three categories. And I have those here in these three categories called as visibility, usability, and then scalability. And with visibility, I mean multiple things where we're not seeing the big picture. So when there is too much of those little things that we need to organize manually. It starts with problems with streamlining the invoice receiving process. And how do we receive the invoices so that minimal amount of manual work is related? Every time that any user, whether it's AP or a business user, has to charge the invoice, even if it means just forwarding an email, there's an extra delay, there's extra work, and then there is that risk of human error, meaning the invoice might get lost. Just like Dave, you mentioned, you forget to forward it, you forwarded it to the wrong capture address, or it's in your junk mail to begin with. So it gets lost. And other things are that every time that there is a group policy or just those general setups that have already are in place in Dynamics, they have to be applied to multiple places, which might cause extra manual work. And then you have the risk of leaving gaps in the process. So you cannot even see easily if the policies defined are really in place if you can't be sure of that technology takes care of it. With multi-company environments, it's common to struggle again with the big picture. If you're forced to process things legal entity at a time, and especially without any automation, then you're wasting your time with kind of repeating things, repetitive things. Okay, so let's see some of those the solutions that we have. We're going to come back to the usability and scalability a bit later and see those examples too. But let's start by looking at how the process works. So receivable process is where everything starts. It's an old record playing that's streamlined, centralized. Don't let the users receive the invoices, but get them directly from the vendor so they don't get lost. But sometimes real life just doesn't work that way. It is true, all invoices, true that one channel is the most effective way, but then making it easy for the users is our plan B. It's so important to have those safety nets, like being able to take a quick photo of that invoice and forwarding that to the capture address is really beneficial for the users. But again, every pair of hands touching the invoice will add more costs. So if you get the invoices through one pipeline, use technology to capture, you also mitigate some of that duplicate invoice paying. So Dave was mentioning that especially. So for example, with duplicate invoices, when the machine is doing that, they read the invoice numbers the same way every time. And then you're able to spot those duplicates more easy. When a human does the interpretation that what is the invoice number, they type in whatever. Everyone has their own interpretation as on is it a dash or some other symbol. So, okay, the capture process is invisible as possible in the background. Whatever format the invoice comes in. So here in the picture, paper, email. Of course, you want to receive e-invoices always when possible, and this will be more kind of easy next year when there will be an open US e-invoice framework starting. But meanwhile, we're kind of forced to receive OCR invoices, captured invoices, even paper invoices. And when that capture happens in the background, then the first time when you see those invoices, they will arrive for the AP in the Dooap web app. And here in the web app, we're able to already then apply automation. The more accurate the invoice data, accurately the invoice data has been captured, the more automation we can apply. And there is that big chance that no one has to actually manually manage that invoice. So based on two or three-way matching, whatever the setups are in your dynamics, we're able to then automate those invoices. Users can use a web app or a mobile app, and the approved invoices will then flow to Dynamics, and then they are ready for payment as typical vendor transactions from there. The purchase orders are updated, the invoice PDF picture and possibly attachments are then attached to that transaction in Dynamics. Or if you don't want them there, you don't want to bloat up your Dynamics database, you can also choose to have a link that opens that invoice picture from Dooap side. But capture, automate, pay, automate it as possible. That's the way to go. Then just a few words about the integration and what it means to be kind of seamless. So Dynamics has that master data. Dooap reads that information from Dynamics. No information is entered twice, and there's no interfaces that you have to maintain. So they're all built in Dooap, and the setups that you have in Dynamics are kind of deriving to your AP process, and no extra work there is needed. Whatever company-specific setups there is, like account structures or specific dimensions that are just for a specific legal entity, all those are immediately available to be used. And it is a control mechanism, so you're not allowed to do anything that is against your Dynamics setups. Then thinking about roll out to new companies. So when you set up a company in D365, it's then immediately available to be used in the Dooap side too. You just need like 2 minutes of in the Dooap side to activate that. Finance can do that, and then the new company is ready to be used. I have in the past worked with franchising companies and retail where there has been hundreds of legal entities in Dynamics. In the recent tougher case that I was doing, we had 600 legal entities. So you understand that there's no way possible that you actually set up the parameters and setups for all each one of those legal entities. And the nature of that case was actually that every month there was new companies starting, and there was actually companies going too. So when, for example, a franchising entrepreneur stops, the invoices unfortunately doesn't stop immediately. So visibility to the group finance is a key thing for just kind of maintainability. And Dave, I think you didn't have this bad of a situation of having having hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of legal entities, but I guess for those things that you were talking about with 10 legal entities, you already suffer from those visibility issues. Am I right?
That's correct, and this would very much clean up our process, our visibility, and just our overall efficiency. So this is great.
Perfect. All right. So I will now really show what it looks like, and a few words of tech stuff as I do my transition to my demo environment. Here is my D365 site. I have here in D365 my Dooap module in place. We follow the Dynamics update cycle and always support the current version, kind of the upcoming version that there is for Dynamics, and at least 2 older versions back. And Dooap publishes new features every 2 months and always has something beneficial to all our customers, either in the mobile version of Dooap, web app, or in the analytics side, which means our Power BI reports, which are included with Dooap. And all the tools that we use and what you'll get is part of Microsoft ecosystem, so it fits your architecture exactly. So authentication is based on your company's own Azure AD, so no separate user creations or separate maintenance there. Your IT is automatically in control also how then Dooap works. So no, how do I log in questions with Dooap, especially to finance. But okay, let's get going. So Dooap works side by side with your D365. There's links everywhere to hop back and forth. So from the Dooap POs, for example, you can hop to the Dynamics PO, and of course with those transactions in Dynamics, you will have a link to go to the original transaction in Dooap side. And now when the Dooap web app opened here on the screen, I can see now my overall picture of those invoices that are waiting for me to process. You can see here that I have multiple different legal entities. These are my Dynamics codes that are on the start of every one of those lines, which are different invoices. I have here in my view, I have kind of like history, present, and future visible. So as in my active invoice, I already have one invoice that is waiting to be handled first. I also then immediately see what is the history for that specific vendor, and I can still see that what are the upcoming invoices in general. I can, for example, now filter and get the same vendor's invoices into the processing area with this invoice and process them in the same time. But for the visibility here, a few other things is also now this, that, okay, I am acting as an AP person. I have my invoices here, and also those invoices that are not assigned to any user yet. I also have the possibility to see what my colleagues in AP are doing. So quickly seeing that, I can click and get all my colleagues' invoices too. And whenever I have a colleague working on an invoice, I will immediately see an icon where it's showing that, hey, your colleague here is working on this invoice. They started working on it 5 minutes ago. Also visibility thing. So I'm able to see what other AP people are doing. I can see what they are going to do, and I can see what they have done. So a history log. Here, it's been mainly myself who has done actions, but and I have been deleting some coding lines. But we have a very good audit trail that is showing all the actions, very detailed level, that what has happened to those invoices. I'll also pop in, I have a PO invoice here. I will show the PO side. Very interesting to see when there is price changes, quantity changes, miscellaneous charge codes changes. We log everything, so we're really able to track down where the mistakes happened. Well, only to, of course, prevent them in the future. All right. For this, for the invoice that I have here, so like I mentioned, the data capture has already happened. So I'll change the picture side. So I have here now the summary of the data that we have. I have here number of fields that I have hidden, which are my Dynamics, which are a combination of the information that there is in Dynamics and what is then the captured information. If I need to do now any changes to this, what was captured, what was defaulted as a Dynamics default, I can apply those changes now. And every change that we do is then material for learning. So if I do correct an invoice number, if I do correct an amount, if I correct the coding, there is a machine learning or there is that OCR learning then that happens in the background. So that I don't have to especially apply that okay, we'll learn this. All of that is used by the machine learning in the future. All data is synced with Dynamics. So like I showed in that picture, we do see, for example, often happening changes in account structures, changes in the purchase orders. And when those changes happen, that information is then pushed to Dooap side. So for example, if I have here now a purchase order invoice and someone would go and change PO details in Dynamics, I would get then information here that, hey, this PO is not confirmed anymore. So you need to check the Dynamics side to see that everything is applied correctly. Okay, so before we continue, I am now gonna go forward with my slides and talk about a bit of that usability part, which I definitely then want to show how it looks like in the solution. So this is the biggest section. So here is where we really get the benefits compared to standard D365. Managing complex delivery scenarios, like Dave was mentioning, those multiple POs, multiple invoices, multiple deliveries, and multiple invoices with multiple deliveries, you name it. So for automation, of course, the rule of thumb is that one PO, one invoice. But with a bit of help with machine learning, we can have automation combine complex cases too. So maybe automatically apply multi-deliveries with those POs. And when automation fails, you want the manual work to be easy to write. So flexible workflows, coding, machine learning suggestions in every step of the way, those are the basis for usability. So usability is a combination of good, just kind of good looking design and good feeling design. So when it is working, it does feel good to use. It helps you to use it better. And now at this point, I also want to show this mobile part. So mobile is meant for the approvers. So when the invoices are routed for approval, so there is an automated approval. You typically non-PO invoices, you don't even have that chance of an automated approval. But the mobile app is really good for that because it gives you all that information that you need for approving those invoices. You can see the invoice picture, you can see the invoice details, you can see the workflow. And how the mobile actually looks like is that it has those invoices as a stack of cards. And when you kind of have a stack of cards there where you already see the basic details of it, you could already approve it by swiping right. Here I have a bit of a video on how it looks like. And if I swipe left, I'm able to skip that invoice. So I can kind of go through the cycle through all those invoices that I have in my pile of invoices. And if there is an invoice that I need more information about, I tap and click that invoice open. So it shows me the details, kind of general details, the invoice image, then the workflow, which we already saw. And what is best, I can, of course, put the comments, but I can apply the coding, change the coding, kind of do anything with the coding, and it does check the account structure. And if I need to return it back to AP or the previous approver, I can do that also in the mobile, and also I can set my vacation substitute, my delegate for my vacation time. So that is important too. So, but let's take a look at those usability things also from the web app side. So here we go. So the user interface, we're hoping that it is fairly understandable. I will close that previous invoices now to just make it a bit more clear. We're focusing on this invoice here, which is a non-PO invoice. Like said, I can change all the data that I had for the invoice header, for the invoice coding section. For example, the company, if this has come to the wrong company, we have recognized the company incorrectly, oops, sorry, I can change it from this drop down, and immediately that legal entity's rules are applying. I'm choosing from that legal entity's vendor table and so forth, and the account structure for that legal entity takes place. Everything is validated. If I'm doing the coding here, I can take a look at what the text or the descriptions for the codings are. If I want to do changes, whenever I kind of do something, it does validate this now real time against the account structure that we have in Dynamics. But more interestingly, I can use machine learning suggestions. So we can get the coding from, for example, defaulted from the vendor defaults in Dynamics. You can put the default legal entity for a vendor. You can have all the dimensions. You can have those dimensions from a project. So you don't have to necessarily do a ledger coding. You can do a project coding too, and select line properties and categories and so forth. But the machine learning actually looks at the history of this invoice in this legal entity with these people in the workflow and vice versa. So if I have certain kind of coding here, I also get certain kind of workflow suggestions based on that coding. So for example, here, I have a 99% probability that my workflow isn't this, but it's something that is like this. If I apply that, yes, I am fairly certain that this is okay. We can, of course, have that automated. So that's that if the probability is over 95, please select that automatically and just send it. Kind of with the machine learning, looking these patterns and trying to look for any automation that can be applied, it is really a lifesaver. And you can always kind of disregard. If you don't want to choose that, you can go back to what the defaulted workflow was. Workflow can, of course, also come from Dynamics. If, for example, position hierarchy can be the base. You can have, of course, from PO, you can have the orderer or requester default to a certain step of that workflow, or you can have dimension owners. So whenever an invoice is coded to a specific cost center, the owner that you can set up in Dynamics can then be the default approver. All right, okay. So that was about those kind of quick machine learning functions, account structure validation, and then workflow changes. You can also do those on the fly. So I can change as an AP. I can change here, and I can build my new workflow, and then I can save that with a new name to be used as a default preset workflow in the future. So that is fairly easy. But for this invoice that I had here, so how it goes forward now, so we don't have any warnings anywhere. Everything looks good. We have a coding. We already have had some dialogue here. Can you check the project? We have a project number. And now I will just push that forward in the workflow. So that goes forward, and I get the next invoice from my next invoices category there. This invoice here is deliberately an perfect PO invoice, which we wouldn't normally see. It is fully matching. This wouldn't normally stop for approval unless you specifically want to. But we, of course, always encourage that when it is matching, when everything is okay, you just let it go through automatically, which would mean that it would skip all those steps as the purchase order in Dynamics is matching fully with the miscellaneous charges also included to this invoice. So normally that would just be approved automatically in the background, and we would then see that in my previous invoices section. But here we have a horrible case. So Dave, I think that this doesn't even yet anyhow it isn't enough. So it has only 3 POs currently. It has only 5 product receipts and not even too much lines. But this is kind of like the direction what you're meaning. There is a mess on that invoice. I think you were mentioning that you have even more.
Yes, that's correct.
And of course, kind of here in our PO product receipt selection window, we can. It's very nice because it actually is showing which product receipts and which POs go together, and I can do it kind of from either side. So from the product receipt, I can see what PO that would be, and I can pretty much select everything here if I wish, just to have a good look on okay, what do we have? Which lines do I want to select on this invoice? It's somehow sometimes it's easier to kind of over select and then see that, oh yes, I have to actually get this PO for this invoice because the vendor failed to mark the PO number correctly. But kind of how the matching works, there is so much automation related to matching and so much helpful tools. But starting from what you did mentioned about the multinational invoices, international invoices. When you get an invoice offshore from India, from I think you mentioned Far East, and for example, having our waiting for product receipt mode, it helps AP to focus on the essential ones. So when an invoice arrives, you can set by vendor a certain wait period that when the system is going to try on its own the automation and wait for the product receipt to come. And only if the product receipt comes during that wait time and we can see that there is an error, then it escalates that invoice to the person that has to take a look at it.
That's correct.
And yeah, I think that was something that you were looking for.
Very much so. Thank you.
Perfect. And kind of after that time runs out and there still might be problems. So what you can do in the Dooap side, the machine learning or again can compare the line level information from that invoice to what you have in the purchase order side and the product receipt side. And if it can see that, hey, there is a mismatch here, so otherwise everything is correct, but the unit price on this line and this line are not what you have in Dynamics, then it can highlight that and give the user a hint where the problem may lie. With some vendors, it's almost impossible to get the line level information. So it's not kind of stopping the matching with that if you don't just if you're not able to get that line level information. Some vendors even send handwritten invoices, so you don't have a lot of line level information there. But at least when it is solid data, you're able to then spot that error very easily. And especially with e-invoices, there we have good quality line level information. So. Yep. I can do the changes. I can do the changes based on what Dooap suggests. I can do manual changes if I need to adjust the matching prices. I can add miscellaneous charges here. So these are the charges that you have in Dynamics. So I don't actually have to create something different than in Dynamics. This is absolutely those same functions that there is, and will end up the same results in Dynamics as you would get in standard, but in an easier way. We do automatic allocation. So unless you specifically want to define how those fees are allocated, it will automatically allocate the fee to all the lines that there is based on quantity or price, whatever your preference is. All right, okay. When I didn't now match this invoice fully, but if I would now do the matching, then I can send it forward to the next approver. If I have done, for example, unit price changes, then the approver is always required to approve those changes that has been done in the previous steps of the workflow. But if I am just selecting manually the correct product receipts, then it doesn't have to stop. It's still a three-way match. All right, in this case, I am gonna let Kristin solve this. I will send it to her. Good. And hopefully it's my Kristin, my colleague, that is that is currently working in the system, because I could see a colleague here in the same time, so she will handle that very well. Good. All right. So going to the last category, scalability. So as final summary of everything that we talked about today, it all comes down to basically scalability and cost savings. Every problem today is related to this, and like said before, that every pair of hands touching an invoice does cost money. And having a manual process doesn't scale without hiring more hands. So the paradox there is that with machine learning, for example, scaling up and processing more invoices actually improves automation and increases the accuracy levels. And as there is more just history data to pull information off. And proper analytics is a must-have with AP. Automated or not, you have to know your numbers and know the bottlenecks where to improve. And per every study, there is usually a result that invoices that are processed manually, it costs 5 times more per invoice than an automated one. So we constantly see how investing to automation pays back in just few months of usage, latest in 6 months to a year. So let's take a look on what the bottlenecks could look like and how we can find places where to improve. So this is now examples of the Dooap dashboards, the Dooap analytics that we have. We have role-based dashboards where, for example, CFO can see those numbers that are usually most interesting to them. They can see fluctuation in the approving times, in the DPO numbers, in the most important KPIs. How much unplanned miscellaneous charges has there been in the past 30 days? Very important KPI, because vendors sometimes tend to kind of put the costs in those additional miscellaneous charge costs. So they negotiate the prices down, but then there is an extra $500 freight every time for every shipment. So very good to look at those KPIs. In the process automation side, this unfortunately is my demo data information, but you can see some of those KPIs that there is. So for checking the automation levels with every step of the way, you are able to then kind of get your bottlenecks in those approving automatic approving steps. In this demo environment, I am not transferring anything to payment, so that's why we have bad percentages there. But yes, we don't want to pay anything from our demo side. But interesting is vendor analytics. So to really look at those bottlenecks, we very often just look at kind of what are we doing wrong. But on the vendor side, you can find very interesting figures and focus on those correct vendors when looking for those bottlenecks. Who are our most important vendors? What can we do with them? How can we improve the process? Are we missing out those cash discounts, which is kind of one of the most important things that you don't want to miss. There is a lot of money related to cash discounts if you can utilize those. So the fact here that in this environment, we are able to get 17K cash discounts compared to how can we get now the last ones. Oh, we're missing the cash discounts on Fujifilm. Let's focus on what we can do there. We can then immediately start examining that, okay, who are the people that are approving those Fujifilm invoices, and what can we do there to improve it? Also in the performance side, interesting figures in a way that if we have agreed something with the vendor, for example, on a specific terms of payments. So we can see here that, for example, Johnson's Control International, we have agreed a default payment term of 15 days, but we keep getting their invoices only a few days before the due date. So that doesn't leave us much to work on if we only get the invoice so late. Where is the problem? Do they send that invoice to a person inside our company who holds it for 2 weeks before sending it forward? Or is Johnson doing something there? Interesting information. Perfect. And as the last thing, there is also a cool thing how we can let machine learning do all the work. And machine learning will run the analysis for us and look for those key factors that why is invoices generally late. Apparently in October is one of the reasons why invoices might be late. All right, that is all that I had. I'll kind of go to the last picture here, and
Okay.
I'll give it to you, Peter.
Great, thanks Anna and Bob and Dave and Captain Finance and Dooap. Thanks for playing along with our alter egos and our presentation here. If you'd like to reach Bob, his contact information is shown here, and they've got offices across the globe. And Dooap, my email is listed here, or you can just directly book a demo if you'd like to see that. So thank you again, everybody, for showing up, and thank you to our presenters and for Laura for hosting us today.
Yes, and I'll echo that. Thank you so much. And it was a fun, kind of creative way for you to present the information, and we really enjoyed it. If you did have a question that you typed in, you can look forward to an individual response from someone from their team. And we did record today's event as well, and we'll be making the recording available. So with that, we'll end it there. Have a great day, everybody.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.